Okay.
We made you wait too long. We're not doing that whole countdown after being 5 minutes late.
Just some minor technical difficulties.
Just minor technical difficulties. Good morning. Welcome to the only sports show guaranteed to not talk down to you. It's a legal shift. I'm John. I'm joined as always by Jason Kiefer, fireman somewhere in the American Rust Belt. How you doing this morning, Keefe?
I'm good, buddy. A little tired, but worked last night or yesterday and last night, so we got our dicks kicked. Is pretty much the how it sum it up.
How did your dick get kicked?
Well, for a department that normally does maybe 5 or 6 runs a day, we did 12.
12 is more than 5 or 6. What was going on? Just something in the water?
Bunch of EMS runs, but then we had a structure fire right around dinner time in a neighboring jurisdiction. So we were there for probably about an hour and a half, but freezing fucking cold. Got blasted with water and had to go stand out in the cold and wait and just watch everything just start to freeze.
I had an interesting conversation with someone last night. There's the old Siemens adage about a full moon that we all kind of abide by in this field. But I think the truth is it's not a full moon. I think it's waning gibbous. And I don't mean to get too hefty on you, although you are under the same night sky as me, so you can look at the moon and know what phase it's in. But I think things get rowdy just right after the moon's full.
So waning is when it's getting smaller, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Waxing is when it's getting bigger.
Yes.
See, I know a little bit.
I know science.
I wasn't completely confident on it, but
I learned science. Yeah,
I know terminology. How's that?
It's the time when all of your work's been put in. You start sort of kind of reaping what you've been doing, and I think maybe even with just some latency effect. Think about it. Like, have you ever noticed that hurricane season lasts till October? Why is that? Well, why does it last all the way into the fall when it's already cool again? It's because there's just all this latency stuff going on.
Latency
for things to catch up. So you have your full moon. That's when the crazy reaches full potential, but we don't get to feel all the ripple effects of it until we're in waning gibbous. Does this make sense?
It does make sense.
It's the way something gets charged with potential energy and it doesn't get transformed into kinetic energy, until later. It's like the string of dominoes is struck on the full moon and it finally hits you and me, waning gibbous. All right, I've explained it to death.
I love it.
Nobody cares. All right, guys. I should probably talk about the ads and stuff.
Yeah, do that.
Show's brought to you by GhostBed. Go to ghostbed.com. Use the offer code Wolfpack. You can save up to 40%. You're going to find wonderful stuff on that website: mattresses, adjustable frames, cooling technology for pillows, sheets, all that great stuff. If you're having anything less than a splendid night in bed, trying to sleep, like me, on a sagging bed in the basement with water dripping in my face, not as a torture, but because there's water dripping everywhere, because I deserve no better. Well, you do. Go to ghostbed.com, use that offer code Wolfpack. Not only will that give you 40% off of splendid deals that you find there, but it also lets GhostBed know, hey, I'm listening to John and Keefe, and you should continue to send them remuneration so that they don't have to work in a slave condition. So please go over to ghostbed.com, offer code Wolfpack. Also, show is also brought to you by the Asbury Woods Senior Apartments in Anderson Township. It's a sensible choice for seniors. Asbury Woods Senior offers a friendly living environment in Anderson Township. Its welcoming community of 1, 2, and 2+ bedroom apartments is located within a short distance of a variety of restaurants, banks, and shops. Asbury Woods' warmly furnished living room is a perfect place to greet family and friends with a fresh cup of coffee. Get to know your new neighbors in the social room, where we host a variety of activities, including catered dinners, movie nights, card games, and birthday parties. Whether managing your home is becoming too much for you or you simply ready to begin a new chapter in your life, please call or stop by for a visit. We look forward to showing you all that Asbury Woods has to offer. Now, why rent? Well, your mortgage is paid off, but you have all these costs associated with home ownership. They exist and they continue to rise year after year. Real estate taxes, homeowners insurance, utilities, house maintenance, exterior maintenance. It's too much. Forget about it. Combine all that, you're going to save money just by renting Asbury Woods. And let's face it, gang, you're old.
What's the address of that place?
And there's not much time left. So it's over on Asbury Road, 1149 Asbury Road. You've probably been there.
It's a shithole.
What?
You pick a better one. That is literally like probably 6 minutes from my house.
Stop it. They are nice. Say they're nice.
Oh, they're great. They're awesome.
They gave me $20.
And I'll get 5.
God sakes. Why are you so bad at this? I say Duke's mayonnaise and you're like Hellman's.
You need to reach out to me.
What does that mean?
I'll give you
Don't say the sponsor sucks.
I'll give you a good one to pitch.
To be honest, I just will talk to whoever wants to give me some money and then you say they suck. Like, this is how lawsuits are born.
Ugh.
All right. So here's your moment to shine. I'm going to hand this off to you in a minute because hockey. The USA and Canada to meet in Four Nations face-off final after a fight-filled first matchup. This is from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting. Guys, hockey's important. Hockey matters. It's the 10th most popular sport in the United States. But because there's nothing else to do, and because we kind of hate Canada for being dicks right now, we're all in. And let's face it, gang, we can't watch the Daytona 500 because every time you fucking turn it on, they're actually not racing. They're not sweeping the track, walking around. There's no actual racing going on. That's why it takes all goddamn day. It's not because there's 500 laps. It's because they don't do any actual racing. The best part of that was Donald Trump coming out and saying, gentlemen, start your engines, and the Air Force One flyover. Very boring race. I can't believe they say that's the Super Bowl of NASCAR because it's incredibly boring. All right. Violence was on the menu the first time USA and Canada face off. We'll get round 2 on Thursday thanks to Canada's win over Finland on Monday. Fuck those Finns. Canada secured a 5-3 win over Finland in the Four Nations face-off, play to advance to the final game against USA on Thursday night. Are you going to watch? Canada entered Monday's game needing a win in regulation to guarantee a trip to Thursday's championship game. USA had already clinched a spot in the game thanks to a 3-1 win over Canada in a round-robin play on Saturday. Bad blood boils over in Game 1. The game reignited USA hockey rivalry.
Cocky
Rivalry. A cocky hockey rivalry that had lied dormant for years because nobody gave a fuck. Canada and the United States last met in 2022 Winter Olympics. I don't think it's the same teams, though. I don't think it's the same players, but that game featured youth players as the NHL had pulled its players from the Olympic competition in 2018 and 2022. So, yeah, it's not in any sense the same team. Saturday gave the best players from both nations their first look at each other while representing their country in years. The result was 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of play, proving once and for all, hockey is boring without boxing in it. USA's Matthew Tkachuk and Canada's Brandon Hagel got the party started as soon as the pucks dropped. You had lots of people texting me, telling me like, oh my God, John, hockey's so exciting. Turn on the hockey game. Ugh. I wasn't watching anything. Literally, the TV was off and I didn't turn it on.
I'm just staring at a blank screen.
I'd rather watch a blank screen. At least there's the reflection of the most important person, me. At least I'm on TV when the TV's off.
Next thing you know, he starts punching himself.
Well, only if I wanted entertainment. Keith, what were your takeaways from the USA-Canada hockey match, and what are you looking forward to about the return?
I didn't watch, and surprisingly, Eric brought it up in last call. I was actually shocked. He brought up some sports thing, but I didn't watch all of it, but all the obviously all the highlights, all the clips, and I brought this up earlier. This game was so big because as you introduced it, Canada hates us right now because
I want to talk about that. Yeah,
they don't want to be our 51st state. But the fact that we were away in Canada, and I said this earlier, they're singing their hearts out for "Oh Canada," their national anthem, which is the most boring national anthem ever, outside of Sweden. But I only know that because we have guys in my bike club that are Swedish.
Well, isn't the Mexican one like?
I don't even know what that one is.
That what is it? Old Spanish flea or something? I don't know what it is.
I have no idea.
Little Spanish flea, something like that.
But here we are. We're in their backyard. They're singing their hearts out to their national anthem. Our national anthem hits, and everybody boos. Well, then that just fires up our players, and the melees just fucking started, and it was awesome to watch. I mean, it was even if you don't like hockey, John, like the fights were awesome, but just the aggressive game, the aggressive play. I mean, you could tell these guys fucking wanted it. So it made it a lot more. I mean, there's very, very boring hockey games, but then this one was not one of those.
Yeah, I'm sure it was really entertaining. Like winning an argument with a child. Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. The thing about Canada, though, they're getting all kind of rowdy stuff. I watched a video yesterday where this kind of cowboyed up kind of Canadian guy talking about how his ancestors were here for hundreds of years and he's poured his blood, sweat, and tears to keep that maple leaf red or whatever. And he doesn't want to be the 51st state, and Donald Trump needs to straighten out his own country before he worries about his. Fuck you, dude. We do not want you as the 51st state. Do you realize what a fucking hassle that would be? Right. Why do we want to import thousands and thousands of liberally minded cucks like you? Literally, that's what you are. World affairs go on down here. Will you guys just sit in the room and watch? We're the ones that are fucking with the entire world, and you're just sitting there just loving it. That's the best that you can do. We keep you safe. You give us nothing. And we troll your prime minister, who's an absolute twink.
Douche canoe.
You think you're so fucking tough out there with your cowboy hat, your mustache, and eating your elk jerky. Don't forget Justin Trudeau is your fucking prime minister, and he's the one that we're trolling when we say we're going to make you our 51st state and you're going to be our governor, because Justin Trudeau, the guy that you put in charge of, I don't know, confiscating everyone's money when they have an independent thought, or that whole truckers thing, or forcing COVID on people. You weren't tough back then, Canada. You weren't tough at any point when you were given a chance to win the Stanley Cup. And you don't want to be our 51st state? Fuck you. We'll make you our 51st state. And we'll bankrupt you.
When the tariffs were announced and Trudeau puts a line in the sand, and then the next week is like, oh, okay, yeah, we can get this figured out in 30 days.
We do have a Canadian in the audience. I wanted to say hello to Tyler S. But the thing is
Canadian flags.
Tyler doesn't try to talk tough with me. Tyler doesn't get on here and tell us that we need to go fuck off or whatever like this. And this is just one Canadian guy or whatever. But the thing is that I'm someone who's on the outside. So all I know is the occasional video I say like, oh, this is heartwarming, where there's a Canadian in United States game or whatever. It's an NHL game, maybe in Canada or whatever. And the singer's singing the national anthem for the United States, and the microphone cuts out, and the whole crowd chimes in to finish the national anthem. All these Canadians, all this goodwill. But now that they have a fuck you attitude towards us, yeah, fuck you. If we put tape down the middle of this room, which one's going to suffer? Because the door's on our side. We put a border on the United States between Canada. Which one's going to starve first? It's not going to be us. Forget about it.
You have been harboring this, and I love it.
Well, I didn't like seeing that tough talk video. You need to get your shit straightened out. You don't put a price tag on our sovereignty. You need to pull the stick out of your ass and understand a joke when you hear it. And it's not even being played on you. It's just being played on that cuck, Justin Trudeau. I like the idea of Canada drinking a big bottle of maple syrup, and they're going to fight us. Give me a break. What's your gross domestic product? Huh? What are your mineral exports every year? Snow is not a mineral.
Oh my God. That's great, dude. I love it when you're like this.
All right.
I love it. But I am looking forward to tomorrow night.
Yeah, should be a great game.
I will be watching it. I'll be with a bunch of Canadians, so
yeah,
it'll be interesting, and there will be a lot of alcohol involved. So,
mm-hmm.
All right, good talk, John. Go
That's
ahead.
all I can say about it. I got rowdy and I said whatever I needed to say. You have to kind of be the strong one here for being able to talk about hockey. Like Foxy in the chats has been demanding that I talk about hockey, and I said I'll never do it. Look, I made this fun banner that says "Hockey Matters" and all this. I've done everything I can do.
You should go to a live game sometime. You should come here. We'll go to a live game. It's minor league hockey, but it's still just as fun. I'm not a huge hockey fan to where I'm gonna turn it on at home and watch it all the time. This game, just because it's U.S. versus Canada, that's why I'm watching. But I don't sit and watch
literally figure skating plus soccer, people. You'll see some player, he's doing a power play or whatever. He's surging down the ice, and then a beautiful triple axel followed by a pirouette. What the fuck?
No, that's in the Mighty Ducks.
That literally did happen in the Mighty Ducks.
I know. I love that movie.
God, hockey sucks so much. And what a terrible time of year where hockey's going to be the main thing that everyone's going to talk about. You're going to Google sports in the news, and that's where we're at.
There'll be plenty of other.
Unless you have anything else, I'm going to close it out.
Close it out.
All right. Let's go on to Joe Mixon. Let's talk about something that makes sense.
This is some bullshit, by the way.
This is some bullshit. So Joe Mixon, this is also from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting. He wins his appeal of $25,000, a $25,000 fine for criticizing officials. Running back Joe Mixon has prevailed, thank God. Hearing officer Chris Palmer, the former NFL coach, has overturned the $25,000 fine imposed on Mixon for comments he made after Houston's playoffs loss to the Chiefs. During the appeals hearing, he stated what you meant by your statements referring to the officials, Palmer wrote in his one-page decision dated Tuesday. As you know, statements can be interpreted differently by every individual, and it seems like you clearly understand the weight and detriment of public criticism towards public officials. What is this, Germany? If we post a meme not liking the government, we get arrested?
You're going to get arrested.
Guys, that was the perfect analogy.
It totally was.
You're not allowed to criticize the people in charge, not in the NFL.
You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to criticize anybody.
Why is it only me that is allowed to be criticized? What the fuck?
Well, we're not in Germany.
Well, I guess. Given how impactful your platform is as a player, which I appreciate, integrity of the game and its officials is the responsibility of everyone involved in the NFL. After reviewing the totality of the evidence, I find that you did not necessarily publicly criticize the officials. Accordingly, for the reasons set forth above, the NFL will rescind its fine. The league initially fined Mixon for something that he didn't say, which was what? This is from Pro Football Talk. He was fined for something he didn't say. The NFL reacted to criticism over perceived errors in officiating from Saturday's Texans-Chiefs playoffs game by making an actual error in punishing a player for something he clearly didn't say. The league has fined the Texans running back Joe Mixon for saying this after the Kansas City win. Quote, "Why play the game if every 50-50 call goes with the Chiefs? These officials are trash and biased." Mixon didn't say it. The quote is from a tweet included in an SI story, meaning Sports Illustrated, regarding Mixon's actual comments after the game. Said Mixon, everyone know how it is playing up here. You can never leave it to the refs' hands. The whole world sees. The same article attributes the comment for which Mixon was fined, not to Mixon, but to former Bengals receiver. Oh my God, you're going to have to help me with this one. TJ
Houshmandzadeh.
TJ Houshmandzadeh did it, and he's a former guy, so he's allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Mixon's actual quote wasn't mentioned in the fine letter. Presumably, it wasn't enough to trigger a punishment. Mixon's agent, Peter Schaefer, tells PFT that he will defend and appeal the fine. Of course, we already know that they've already won their appeal. So let me ask you this. Should Joe Mixon be fined for not saying that? Because the situation with the refs has gone so out of control that only a player like Joe Mixon or other such players calling these refs to the carpet and incurring these fines upon themselves is going to draw enough attention to the NFL to solve the problem. Part of this is the reason why it's being swept under the rug is, number one, he didn't say it, so it's like they did a really bad job of even setting up that fine in the first place. They were
they just inferred. They inferred that he said it, and then immediately had to not immediately, but had to backtrack a couple weeks later, like, oh, we got that wrong.
Well, after the Texans Chief game, what happened? We saw this play out in the last couple of weeks. We saw this play out. They went into immediate defense mode. We saw stats being released. We saw Sean Green come out, the head of NFL officiating. We saw Roger Goodell make a statement saying, hey, the Chiefs aren't favored in anything. And as soon as that came out, this is probably what kicked up the firestorm of defense over the refs and the Chiefs, and whether or not they were getting favorable calls was probably something exactly like this. And when they realized they were wrong, and especially now that the Chiefs have lost the Super Bowl, it makes a lot of sense that, hey, the best thing that we could do is rescind the fine, make it all go away, and so that this summer, this offseason, we all forget about what trash the refs are. When in truth is that players exactly like Joe Mixon, who could, and this is petty of me, but it's like they can afford $25,000 fine. I'm like saying, I'm helping myself to your money. But at some point, somebody needs to be courageous, somebody who has that platform. And I'm talking about it right now, but nobody gives a fuck what I say. Somebody needs to be courageous and go out there and say, these refs are trash. We are seeing these problems. Put together a highlight reel. Talk more about Clay Martin, the guy who is now 7-0 whenever he officiates a Chiefs game. Start breaking that stuff down. Use analytics. Use whatever you want. And just talk about the fact that there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. And the thing is you don't have to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. This isn't a court of law, but we need to continue to have public discourse about how bad the reffing is, because it's the off season that we have any chance to fix it. If we all just like forget about it, we move on with the XFL, baseball, or hockey, or whatever. We're going to be back here in September with a trash, unchanged ref situation that's bad for the integrity of the game that this guy is talking so much about. This guy who's issuing this letter, Chris Palmer, saying that the integrity is the matter of everybody. But unless we address it in the offseason, it's the integrity of the game for both people who love the sport itself and for people who love to gamble, which is a terrible and immoral thing to do. They need the integrity of the game as well.
I think you are seeing more players be more vocal about it, and some of them are eating their fines and just saying, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I said it," and we need more of it. And I mean, they don't want to get rid of their money, but to your point, they can afford it. But that is the only way that you are going to bring this up to a head. And we talked about it before. You make the refs full time, or have a full time staff, and you can supplement with some part time if need be. But
we need to go beyond that.
Accountable.
We gotta watch the XFL this summer, and I know that getting people to turn on the XFL when it's nice and sunny and warm outside, and you can go play with your kids. That's the main problem of a spring league, is that people want to be doing other things. Watch the way that they officiate, though. I'm not sure if it's changed a lot since the XFL, since back in 2020, but you can hear everything the refs say. They plug in the channel, the communications channel between the oversight room, the field judge who looks over things, and there's a guy who kind of has final say. And then you watch the play go back and forth, and then they say, well, if we look at this rule, I think it's this. And then you hear him say that. It's not about like, oh, well, we better make sure that Josh Allen doesn't get a first down, because who the fuck knows what they're saying in that.
Right. And their little huddle where they're sitting there like, oh shit, if we make this call, we're fucked.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing too. I want to hear if they say like we're not going to get out of Buffalo alive, or we're not going to get out of Kansas City alive, or Green Bay alive if we do this. Or
I love that idea too. Yeah, mic them up all the time. They have hot mics all the time.
Whenever they're doing a review of a score or a turnover or whatever.
I don't want to hear them fucking hot breathing in a fucking mic, but
that will work on some of us for something. But I want to hear everything that they have to say. I want more transparency, and I want full-time refs, and the people who, if we don't want to incur fines or whatever, the group that really needs to be all in and doing this is probably the NFL Players Association, the union. Yep. They need to be going in and talking about that, because
how often do they negotiate? Do you know?
Well, they have a collective bargaining agreement that will last 6 years, and then they're like, okay, well, we'll agree to all these terms for the next 6 years or whatever. I'm not sure when the next big CBA thing is, but they need to start talking about it now. I don't think that the Players Association takes a vow of silence as soon as they get their checks. I think if they go out there and start criticizing now, that'll be a great way to draw attention to it in the media, and the NFL will be forced to respond. The NFL always lags behind when it comes to innovation and being responsive to criticism. They like to sweep things under the rug. They like to make it disappear, and that was their whole mode that they went into. They went into damage control mode between the Chiefs and Texans game and when the Super Bowl was. And unfortunately, it works because while we were worried about the plummeting of ticket prices, what just happened? The Eagles Chiefs game was the most watched event on television since the moon landing. So the NFL has done a great job of controlling it, despite all the fears that the game was going to be one-sided because of NFL refereeing or favoritism or anything like that. The NFL was able to control all of that. My voice wasn't loud enough, and neither was yours, and neither was anyone else who was talking about it. Rich Eisen and all these other people who were actually out there talking about it.
Oh, shit.
They were able to maintain control over that, and their money came in, and it continues. So until the Players Association stands up to it and says we need better refereeing because it's destroying the careers of people who earn first downs, we're just not going to get there. Any final thoughts on that?
Their current collective bargaining agreement expires in March of 2031.
Yeah, but I don't think we can afford to just sit around and be silent the next 6 years.
No, that's, and I don't know when they signed it. If they signed it in this offseason, because that's a long contract. I mean, most contracts that I've been a part of, with my union, that I was in before, there were 3 to 4 year contracts, because that's enough time to, you get stuff settled, things change, you regroup, and move on. God damn, that's a long time, especially with that many people in the union. It's even when you retire, you're still in the union.
Well, the thing is they got paid, so they agreed to these long terms, and I don't care about the other terms. I mean, I could probably come up with a reason why I don't like them, but
the players' union has to be.
They have to be the voice of the players. Yeah,
they have to be the forefront to get this shit changed.
And I think that they need to be willing to go out there and have to. Yeah, and the thing is, you could be civilized about it. You could say, you know what, we're concerned about this. We think that the audience is concerned about this, and we would like to see changes. The NFL, they've changed some special teams plays lately. They've tried hard to make the game safer. Let's try hard to make the game more fair.
Let's start there first.
I think if particularly if you're going to try to have global appeal, which is what the NFL is trying to do, they're trying to take over the world like a Bond villain or something. You've got to have fairness, and new audiences coming to this thing. They're not going to have the big picture. They're just going to hear what other people are saying, which is the league is unfair. The league is corrupt. Games are bought and paid for. This is entertainment. This is like wrestling. This isn't a true sport. And they're not going to go in for that. They want to see athletics, and they want to see meaningful competitions, and they don't want to see a finger on the scale when it comes to deciding things.
No, and it's frustrating for you and I. We're very in depth in the NFL and love it, but it's very frustrating when we sit there and watch some of these games, and we've gotten screwed. The Bengals have gotten screwed. Every team's gotten screwed, right? But you see the Chiefs that are constantly on the winning end of it, and it's so blatant, and it's actually changing outcomes. It's changing playoff spots, and it's got to be stopped. They have to figure out a way to do it. But, these guys aren't also going to just get fined every week just because. So I don't know what the right answer is and how. I think you and I should write a strongly worded email.
Maybe on our angriest stationery. But the XFL in 2020 showed tremendously clear officiating. And the reason they did that is because they wanted people to bet on the games, because they knew that betting would draw a larger interest in what was going on in the XFL. They showed how to do it. They got it done. The league, of course, was brought down by COVID, something that we couldn't have seen coming, which is a terrible shame, because I think the XFL of 2020 was something very, very special. And I enjoyed that season a lot. My Roughnecks forever undefeated that year. But making them professionals, having them be full-time, having them work year-round, that's another way to do it. And some NFL referees won't want to make that commitment. They won't want to make that change. Bye. Don't tell me that we can only find, there's only a very limited number of people on earth that can referee. the NFL rules are complicated and finding qualified people is hard, but we're in the era where we're getting rid of DEI. So it's time to bring in qualified people that can do this. And I'm sure there's people who are professionals, there are people who play or that ref games in the NCAA and other collegiate stuff who would love to move up and be full-time. It's if you're about professionalizing the league and taking over the globe, if you have global interests when it comes to the NFL, got to make it professional. The whole league's got to be professional. Yeah. No more part-time, no more amateur shit.
It's a lot easier to hold people accountable when they actually have skin in the game versus just, they're like, fuck it, I can just go not do this anymore. But when you have somebody that is relying on, I say relying on it, let's use that loosely, because those guys don't have to do it. But you've got somebody that you can hold accountable, and it's like we said many times before. You have a quality assurance after each game, after each 2 games, 3 games, whatever, because those guys typically stay in crews and travel together. So it's like, all right, your crew is you're missing the boat. So either you're going to get remediation training, or we're going to split you up and put you with other people that may know more. I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. It's just, the NFL doesn't want to as an organization.
Well, yeah, we got to find some way to put pressure on them. That's what I want to see. Justin Tucker, we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
This fucker. I say this fucker to rhyme with Tucker, but it's so scary what somebody can be accused of without having actual proof. And then and especially somebody of his stature or any of these celebrities, when there's no lawsuit yet, and we're going to get into the story, but there's no lawsuit yet that I know of. I don't know what proof is out there, but you can just go ahead and pig pile onto the other people that have made a statement, and you're fucked.
This is all happening at a terrible time too, because there's not much in the news world about football. So sports, media outlets are really going to jump on this, particularly with Deshaun Watson being something that's constantly in the conversation. The Ravens are mum, meaning silent, after a latest wave of Justin Tucker allegations. And I said this would happen. I said other people would accuse him.
You did.
I said that it would turn into a class action suit, and that people like that local news reporter would just go around to Parler saying, "Hey, have you had Justin Tucker in here?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they don't have to show their receipts as long as they can buy into this class action suit. And what if they're committing fraud? What if they say, "Yeah, Justin Tucker was here and he asked me for a rub down," and it never happened? They don't really face any consequences for that. They can lie their asses off and what? Unless Justin Tucker's going to go full Matt Ariza and countersue his accuser back.
Right.
Which I hope that he does, particularly if he's not guilty. Over the weekend, a fresh wave of allegations emerged regarding Ravens kicker Justin Tucker. The total number of individuals accusing him of inappropriate behavior during massage therapy has reached 16. Tucker has previously issued a strong and total denial. Just because there's more doesn't make it legitimate, though.
Right.
You accuse someone of being a witch, it doesn't matter if the whole town turns their fingers on you and calls you a witch. It doesn't matter. We went through the same thing with McCarthyism and communism. Once it's popular, everyone will throw in to castigate someone and excoriate them and slander them with lies. And I don't know if he did it or didn't do it. I just know how human behavior works. And I know that you're talking about a whole bunch of people in Baltimore, one of the trashiest cities in the United States. And if you don't like it, look at your crime stats, look at your poverty rates. Sorry, but it is very trashy. I've been to Baltimore and I didn't like it. Okay. You have people at these parlors who are not making a lot of money and they're trying to throw in and, like I said, be part of a payout. They don't care if all they get out of it, if they say their piece of it is $2,000, that's good enough for them.
Right.
They don't have anything to lose. They only have something to gain by joining those waves of accusations. And I just find it hard to believe that this guy, Justin Tucker, this high-profile NFL kicker, because he has been high-profile. Some of you are like, I don't know who that guy is. Well, in the NFL, he's high-profile. He's like the best kicker there is.
Yeah.
Okay. He's the Tom Brady of kicking right now. That's who he is.
He honestly didn't miss until this past season.
He had a bad season. He's kind of falling off now, but he's the GOAT kicker. He's in contention for one of the greatest kickers of all time.
It didn't matter what yardage it was. If Tucker came in, you're like, oh, well, there's fucking 3 on the board. All right,
he was automatic. Yeah, he's perfected it, and he's one of the best players to ever play his position. And if the Hall of Fame goes strictly by how well you are, how good you are at your position, and how you change the game, he's a Hall of Famer. It's going to happen
all day.
The Ravens issued a statement last month when the initial set of allegations was reported by the Baltimore Banner. That was that rag, that fish wrapper that I mentioned before. Since then, I mean, it's not even the Baltimore Sun. It's not even the biggest newspaper in Baltimore. The Ravens had said nothing. I want to know what the Baltimore Sun has to say about it. But nothing prevents the Ravens from announcing the intentions before that. The Jets did it last week with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, telling the world that they'd be moving on. The official transaction will occur when the new league begins, when the new league year begins, and the cap charge falls from $49 million to $14 million. Right or wrong, true or false, it's difficult for the average reasonable person to regard 16 total claims as embellished. Why?
What proof has been out there?
The fact that there's more makes it less likely. If we had one, I would believe it, because we're talking about one instance, one stupid decision, one indiscretion. I believe that. 16 actually makes it less believable to me.
Yeah.
Somebody making a mistake and getting aroused during a massage and just having a stupid moment where they ask for something, or they think they have a connection with someone. You know, these massage therapists, you know, they're there to be friendly. They're there to give good service or whatever. And maybe there's a little flirtation going on. Maybe there's some sort of attraction. Maybe it's on the guy's head. White guys our age, Keith, we tend to think that anyone who's nice to us is flirting with us. It's a failing of old white guys. You know what happens to you, Keith, every time you go to a bar and a waitress is nice to you. You kind of think, does she have a thing for me? We have to remind ourselves and each other, no, nobody likes us.
Nobody.
We're gross. But Justin Tucker might have had a momentary lapse. I could believe one. I could even believe two, saying, oh my God, Justin, get your shit together. You've got a problem. But 16 actually makes it unbelievable, because why is he going around to 16 different people? I've been getting my hair cut by one person, by the same person for the last 10 years. If there's someone that gives him the massage therapy that he needs to keep that leg in good kicking shape, I'm guessing, you know, kickers are such people of routine. Everything that they do is like a mechanical watch. And the last thing a kicker would want to do is add a lot of variation into that system. So if he's getting a good massage therapy from one person, whatever it is that they're doing, whatever it is the routine is on his hamstrings, on his calves, whatever, then that's what's working for him. That's what's keeping him operating at 100%. I don't think he's going to change that. I don't think that he's going to go around and see 16 different people, even if he's going to the same agency and there's a couple different people there and there's a couple people he's comfortable with being scheduled with. I don't believe that over the course of his entire NFL career, he's going to every single, apparently, massage parlor in the city of Baltimore and getting as many of these as possible and having inappropriate encounters with each of them. Some of these accusations are going back something like 15 years, and you're going to tell me they're all coming out now? No. Right or wrong, true or false, it's difficult for the average reasonable person to regard 16 total claims as embellished. No, the number doesn't make it more believable. Yahoo.
I feel comfortable in saying that he didn't just put his schwanz in 16 women's face or hands. I mean, like you said, one, maybe. Two, but yeah, 16.
If he's got a problem, it would be two. 16, you're going to tell me we haven't been dealing with this entire time? He's been a millionaire for a long time, people.
Get that thing out of my hands.
Since he's been in the NFL, he's been a millionaire.
Yeah.
There's been money for people to sue him over. Worthwhile money to somebody for this. For a massage parlor employee, okay? And the fact that it's turning into a class action suit, in my mind, does not make it more believable. And, you know, if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, and I'll eat my words right here on the show, but I can't wait to be vindicated.
Well, here's the problem, too, is they're saying that there's accusations, but no proof. And this story broke, what, probably a month ago? And in a month, nothing has been put out. And I'm not exonerating him right now. I don't know. But you're not giving me anything media-wise, information-wise, as to what evidence you have. You have to have fucking evidence to be proven guilty, correct?
Yeah.
At least the world I grew up in.
There's not even any lawsuits filed. It's all scurrilous accusations, and it's an extortion job right now.
Right.
Because where are the handcuffs? Where's the subpoena saying he has to appear in court? They're nowhere.
Purple Hook.
They're out here trashing this guy and ruining his life and humiliating his wife and his family. And so far, I want to see them put their money where their mouth is.
And here's the thing: you see all the memes in that, comparing him to Deshaun Watson and Bob Kraft. If he settles, if there's a settlement that comes out, I'll buy into it. But none of that has come out yet. Deshaun Watson settled. Robert Kraft went to court and then settled. But I don't think Watson ever went to court.
I hope Matt Araiza, the punter for the Chiefs and former punter for the Bills, he was accused of sexual assault too. He came out of San Diego.
That was a great episode that we did.
Got drafted by the Bills, and then he had this accuser saying at a party where they had a mutual consent encounter, that it was somehow forcible, that it was something really vicious, actually, that it was like a gang rape scenario. And Matt Araiza fought that accusation. He sued back and won big time. And he silenced all the people that made him look like a terrible human being, like a rapist. And if that's what's going on here, I think that Justin Tucker should fight every bit as hard for his legacy, for his family, and for his good name. And like I said, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. For some reason, that's nobody's mentality anymore. We actually had to put that into the law, because human nature is, once you smell something bad, once there's smoke, there must be fire. People are making accusations, and this Yahoo article says, like, well, if 16 people are accusing him, you really can't ignore that. I can fucking ignore anybody's accusations because it's not proof of anything. Anyone can say anything about anyone. And what bothers me is that there's no empathy for him at all. And I might have to retract that empathy at some point, because if this guy's a scumbag, I'm going to retract it. But where's the lawsuits? And for anyone listening who doesn't understand this, like, in a court of law, you're innocent until proven guilty. You have to go in there and convince a jury beyond the shadow of doubt that you committed a crime. In a civil lawsuit where you're just fighting for money, not for jail time, all you have to do is preponderance of evidence. It's 50% plus one, whatever's most likely to have been the case. You sit there, you think about it. What do you think happened? Well, I think it was this. It's simply mulling it over in a civil lawsuit. Very, very low degree of certainty. Okay, it's not the same thing as a criminal court of law. Guess what? We're not at the point of either of those things. All that's been said is an allegation. We're making this guy look bad, damaging his career. We don't know if the Ravens are going to re-sign him. That's going to affect his contracts going forward. And you know what pisses me off is that normally,
think about his family too.
Yeah, his family. But normally, when someone gets you, when they damage, when they cause detriment to your public image, your character, slander, libel, however that appears, is that normally you have a way to deal with that. You can sue someone for slander, for libel, and for defamation of character. He's supposed to sue these 16 massage parlor employees and get what out of them? He's going to garnish their wages for the rest of their lives.
And Jill brought up a good point, and I haven't heard each individual, but she said from the source of Hard Knocks that a lot of these guys do bring these people into their own home, like they're private contractors or whatever. I don't know out of these 16 if he was going to rub and tugs or if this was happening at his house. I have no idea, because they're not giving us all this information. All they're giving us is that he's accused and he's a freak. He's a freak. And I agree with you. We may have to retract. I hope not, because if you've ever seen or talked, like not physically talked to him, but seen him talk in interviews, whether it's on the sideline after a game or just on these sports podcasts, seems like a stand-up dude. Now, granted, I know a lot of people that seem that way, but they weren't. But we just don't know yet. But with them, the way they put that article out when I saw it, and that's why I sent it to you, I was like, what the fuck? Why don't we let everything come together before we start, just blasphemy on him?
It does worry me that there's a bit of silence here from Justin Tucker, that there's silence from the Ravens, because if he's innocent, he's not obligated to do this. Of course, he has the right to privacy. He has the right to the dignity to not even respond to these allegations. Like there's a certain element of dignity, like, this is beneath my dignity to even reply to. But I would love for him to get up and have a press conference and say, like, let's go to court. Let's have our day in court. Let's talk it out in public and find out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And challenge it. Coach John Harbaugh, comments after the NFL suspended Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson for the same kind of behavior. On one hand, the allegations haven't been fully investigated. Why not? How long does it take to investigate these things? There's a chance none will ever be proven in a court of law, especially since no lawsuits have been filed. On the other hand, the total list of accusers have reached 16. Again, Yahoo Sports, the number of accusers, that just means that it's fun to throw in with a chance to win some money. This is like how you do a lottery pool at work.
If I were the
Ravens, you want to throw in $5 and you have a chance to win the lottery? Sure, here you go.
Right. If I were the Ravens, I mean, we know that they have investigators and they have, they've got protection within their organization for their investments, i.e. players. I would be shocked if the Ravens weren't putting their people on it. And then if Tucker, if Tucker's lawyering up right now and not talking or whatever, I don't know. But you would think that they would. He's going into free agency this year, correct? I believe.
I think he's in some kind of pending contract negotiations. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be putting, if I were the Ravens, I'd be putting my my dogs on the ground to go sniff this out and figure it out. And they probably are, and they're probably being quiet about it. But the fact that you've got to throw a little breadcrumb to kind of keep it where it needs to be. Are we on the right trail, or no, we're way off and this is bullshit?
The article says is that the silence is becoming conspicuous and it eventually will become deafening. No, you need to trade places with Justin Tucker and his family, and talk and consider to yourself how you would handle such a situation, and it wouldn't necessarily by giving the media everything that they want to make a heyday out of it. All right, I'm done screaming now. You want to talk about?
Are you?
I don't know. We're about to talk about the Cowboys.
I know. That's why I said, are you?
This from Yahoo Sports. Will Cowboys drag their feet on Micah Parsons' new deal? Cowboys pass rusher Micah Parsons said earlier this week that there's definitely a plan in place for a second contract. Hopefully Parsons and the Cowboys. The plan includes alignment of the timing of a deal. When it comes to paying Parsons, the Cowboys should not drag their feet. However, that is exactly how the Cowboys always do it. Historically, they have. I like how I made that up, and then the article continues to backs me up. That is how they did it with the running back Ezekiel Elliott. They did it with receiver CeeDee Lamb. They did it with quarterback Dak Prescott twice. Waiting never makes a huge contract cheaper. Waiting keeps a high cap number from being reduced to a level that allows other players to be added. Last year, after Jerry Jones notoriously vowed to be all in for 2024, and before he gaslit the masses by changing the meaning of the term. He didn't gaslight us. None of us believed him. As soon as I heard that, I knew that it was over. The Cowboys waited too long to sign Lamb and Prescott. Lamb missed all of training camp at the preseason. Prescott counted for a ridiculous $55.45 billion against the cap until the first Sunday of the regular season, when his $60 million year dropped the burden by $11.75 million. Parsons, who enters his fifth-year option, will count for $21.3 million against the cap. A new deal would reduce the number and give the Cowboys some flexibility for free agency. So the Cowboys shouldn't wait. They're eventually going to do it. Why not do it now? If the Cowboys are intent on improving the roster, they will. If they continue to adhere to their previously misguided strategy of delay, it won't work. I hereby predict that Parsons' deal will not be made until the week after the last preseason game, but before the first regular season game. Thanks, Cherry.
You're doing great.
Can you at least find a different way to fuck this up? Figure something else out. At this point, the entire team should be for sale. I don't know. I have very little hope, particularly in a newly strong NFC East where the Redskins are good and the Eagles are defending Super Bowl champions.
And you've got Schottenheimer. Yeah. Let that sink in.
What did I ever do to you?
Nothing. I'm upset with you. You think I'm busting your balls. I'm upset with you. I want to see your team succeed because I want to see you versus us in a Super Bowl. That would be a great podcast.
Uh-huh. Just go to tears. It's all over, guys. I don't have any faith in anything. It's too bad. Rounding out the show, before we go, I wanted to talk about whether or not Aaron Rodgers has any reason to believe that if he moves on from the Jets, he could possibly be successful anywhere else. I don't think so. This from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle, the very, very fucking pinnacle of sports reporting.
Before you read it, do you think he wants to? Your personal opinion.
Do I think he wants to succeed?
With just be back in it. At 41 years old, the money that he's got, the opportunities that he's got. I mean, he could go into a booth like fucking Tom Brady did. Do you think he really wants to? He's a competitor. I get that, but
I think so. I think I think he'll probably, as long as anyone will take him, he'll probably go. He's really left a bad taste in the mouths of everyone. You know, his last season in Green Bay and these last 2 seasons with the Jets, his first one, you know, being about 5 minutes long. He's done a lot to damage his legacy because we all suffer from a recency bias. When we think about Aaron Rodgers, what do we think about? Not the guy that none of us wanted to play every Sunday, not about the fear of going into Lambeau against Aaron Rodgers.
The guy that wasn't showing up for team meetings, going on
now we're thinking about the ayahuasca trips, the going to Egypt during off-season training camp, the guy that's being a dick, the guys that get showing up every week on Pat McAfee show. I think there's every chance that he may just lean into it and say, fuck it, I have a better time on Pat McAfee. Particularly when I believe a lot of teams, the idea of signing him would come with a codicil that you need to be involved with the team and not being on Pat McAfee because that's a huge distraction. And they can make their case pretty easily. Like, look at what happened with play with the Jets. You were involved in these other directions. The team capitulated to you, fired the coach, gave you Devontae Adams, and they got nothing for it. So if we're going to take you on here and we're going to pay you the salary, we need you to be all in. And if you're not going to be here, well, we could get Marcus Mariota and probably get the same level of play out of you.
Right.
Marcus Mariota is not going to be out there and Pat McAfee. He's going to be in training camp because Marcus Mariota is going to do what we'll tell him, or Carson Wentz, or one of these other guys that's going to perform at your level, that we can have better relationships with. Relationships matter a lot in football. The guy that's
going to have the as big an ego.
Yeah, and there's people that are going to play harder and have more respect for somebody like Marcus Mariota or Carson Wentz than they are for someone who's a dick like Aaron Rodgers, who's going out there and acting like he's better than everyone else. And I think that's apparent even from my distant view, that he's not much of a team player, that he blames other people for his mistakes, that he feels like he's the only thing that you need to win a Super Bowl. And part of the reason why he thinks that is that the entire media for his entire career has always treated Aaron Rodgers that way, but also the way that Green Bay always operated their organization the time that Aaron Rodgers was there is that other players didn't matter. They let other players go. Mm-hmm. They said that Aaron Rodgers is all we need to succeed and win a Super Bowl, and he bought into that hype. He bought into that mentality that we can let players like Jordy Nelson leave the building, or Randall Cobb, or whoever, Devontae Adams, they can come and go. But all we need is Aaron Rodgers. And that pissed him off to the extent that he had certain players that made him look good. You know, when Randall Cobb would catch a pass from him or whatever, that makes Aaron Rodgers look good. So he wants those people around him. But you know what? There's centers and left tackles and right guards and tight ends and all these other players, running backs, that need to be complementary around him. And he needs to be complementary to those players. And he needs to function in a system where running the ball also matters and also works. And when you're a douche to those people and you don't see them as anything that matters, you're not going to be a functioning body. Okay. Right. So you're the head. You're the one that's making these decisions as the pocket's collapsing around you. But those are your arms and those are your legs. You know, like you're functioning as one unit. And if you say all I need to be is a head, well, you're not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? You got to have a functioning team body. You have to have a unity mentality. And I think that we've struggled to see that with him yelling at people, screaming at people. I can recall occasions where a center didn't snap a ball, and you can literally hear Aaron Rodgers calling the guy out. And it's like the center's the smartest guy on the offensive line. He's looking at something, seeing something. Maybe he's distracted. Maybe he's making mistakes. But when Aaron Rodgers, when you throw an interception, who's walking up to you and screaming in your face?
Right. Exactly. You hardly ever see that.
Yeah.
For any quarterback. You hardly ever see it's got to be a really contentious game for a receiver to go up to a quarterback and be like, what the fuck, man?
Let's talk about some post-40 quarterbacks. There's not very many of them and what their success was like. I'm going to talk to you about someone you maybe haven't heard of, but if you Google him, he's an interesting character, George Blanda. He played from 1949 to 1975. Blanda's career is a wild ride from quarterback to kicker to retirement and back and forth again. By his 40s, he was largely irrelevant as a quarterback, but he finished second in MVP voting in his aged 43 season after leading comebacks with both his arm and his leg. Since it's unlikely Rodgers will be switching to kicking, Blanda's career arc is probably safe. George Blanda, the original GOAT. He's this guy that used to be this tank, totally undefeatable. Didn't matter that he was 43 years old and he's playing with people half his age. He was still in the NFL, leading teams to victory. And it was a different league in 1975. He was having to take hits. When Tom Brady took hits, they changed the rules so that you're not allowed to touch Tom Brady. And we can't, of course, talk about post-40 quarterbacks without talking about Tom Brady. He played from 2000 to 2022. He's the unicorn, which, again, I hold George Blanda in higher regard. Brady was coming off an MVP season, and all he did was take New England to a Super Bowl championship. He would then go on to play for another 4 seasons, winning yet another Super Bowl. In his age 44 season, he led the league in attempts, completions, and yardage, finishing second in MVP voting to Rodgers, of all people. Brady will forever be the outlier, but every quarterback who hits his late 30s now thinks he's the benchmark. I wonder how Patrick Mahomes will fit into that. Drew Brees, of course. He played from 2001 to 2020. I can't believe Brees was still playing until the COVID season. It's hard to believe. And then that was 5 years ago. Brees, the Saints legend and future Hall of Famer, retired after his age 41 season when it became clear that his effectiveness had declined relative to his massive contract. He suffered drop-offs in the most major statistical categories just 1 year after being named to the Pro Bowl, which used to matter, and 2 years after finishing runner-up in MVP voting. He was done. Steve DeBerg. Have you heard of this guy? Because he's the first guy on the list I haven't heard of.
No, I remember. I don't know much about him, but I do remember the name.
DeBerg retired in 93 in his age 39 season. He came out of retirement 5 years later at age 44 to join the Falcons as a backup to Chris Chandler. He played in 8 games, started 1, threw for 369 yards and 3 touchdowns, and ended his career for good on a Super Bowl roster. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Guys, stay in shape. When you retire, stay in shape. You never know. You may feel the itch coming, and you may be able to be like Joe Flacco and get off your couch and go.
I'm not going back.
You're going back. Brett Favre. He played from 91 to 2010. Like Brees, Favre retired at age 41 season with his effectiveness and severe decline. However, he did go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings, so he blazed a career path through Rodgers in that way. And Favre ended up taking the Vikings to the NFC Championship, didn't he?
I believe so.
Maybe divisional round. I don't want to oversay it, but I just remember the Vikings beating the Cowboys that year and
fired out, and I'm not ready. So
being very angry. Doug Flutie, who of course had his own cereal and could not see over the offensive line for being very short. And I think he was the last player to attempt a drop kick and get it.
I believe you are correct on that.
About the drop kick?
Yeah.
Doug Flutie, age 41 season was his last reasonably productive one, playing for San Diego.
5'10".
He's 5'10". He played for another 2 years for the Chargers and the Patriots, but never really had any substantial presence in the game again. I can't believe that's all they had to say about Doug Flutie. We should do like a greatest, weirdest quarterbacks ever. Doug Flutie is definitely going to be in that mix. Warren Moon, the great Warren Moon, played from 84 to 2000. Can't believe he was playing my whole life until I finally kissed a girl.
Hold on real quick. They didn't even say fucking Flutie won the Heisman Trophy.
And he's left-handed.
They didn't throw any of that shit in there.
And he's Canadian, isn't he?
No.
Maybe Moon played in the CFL. Never mind. Moon had a solid age 41 season, making the Pro Bowl and putting up respectable numbers for the Seahawks. Moon would go on to play 3 more seasons, but only one of them, his age 42 season, was anything more than cameos. Moon played a long, long time, but Father Time ran out on him. Vinny Testaverde. Oh, boy, I remember that guy.
Have you seen what he looks like now?
I'm going to Google him in a minute.
Oh, man, he throws like TikTok videos out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough. It just shows that we're all aging, but holy shit, like it's not good.
I'm going to be 41 this year. The story, Testaverde's age 41 season was his last as a reliable starter. And that season for the Cowboys. He would go on to play another 3 seasons for 3 different teams, Jets, Patriots, and Panthers, and never played in more than 7 games in a year. He was still reasonably productive at his age 41, a little too productive in terms of interceptions, where he led the league, but tailed off in a hurry after that. So there it is. The chances that Rodgers was a 6th seed at age 41 are not large, but they're also not zero. All he has to do is emulate the greatest quarterback of all time. Easy enough. Here's the thing. They just listed all these players. They said that they weren't very successful. Every player on that list, except for like DeBerg, who was a little bit before my time, but he wasn't like long enough ago to be considered historic. I knew all those players, and I thought that they were amazing. And I think that they cemented careers, legacies that were huge. And I think that Aaron Rodgers at age 41, he has to go out there and at least say, well, I'm going to stand up to the likes of Vinny Testaverde or George Blanda or whoever else, and I'm going to go out there and ball out, give it a chance, and maybe go somewhere where he can be a compliment and not a detriment, and it'll work for him.
I have to walk a statement back. You said Testaverde. I was thinking of Bernie Kosar, another Cleveland.
Oh, Kosar's sick, yeah.
Yeah, he does not look good at all.
Kosar played for the Cowboys. He won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys.
Yep.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
When's the next episode of One More and I'm out of here?
Oh shit, I don't know. Maybe potentially Sunday night. I leave for out of town tomorrow through Sunday, like afternoon. So I don't know. Dan I wasn't able to do any more this week. So we will hopefully Sunday. I'm going to try to work that out. Maybe do Sunday evening. If not, it'll be Tuesday because I work Monday.
Sunday, Tuesday, some day of the week. Look forward to another episode of One More and I'm out of here.
It ends in Y, I promise.
Yep. All right, Keith, I'm going to blast off. It's been fun.
Brother, I love you.
I love you too. Guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate you. We're going to be back here next week, I guess. All right, well, take care, everybody. Jason, I'll see you.
All right, see you. Thanks.
Bye.